Hello, YouTube world, everybody out there in the world. It's been a minute, I know. Uh, 2025 has been kicking a lot of our behinds, and I am one of them. And I haven't been on here in quite a while because I'm just very much busy with, trying to stay grounded and things of that nature. And so I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity to talk to you guys today, and I went ahead and just decided to go live. If you've been around here long enough, you know I'm the type of YouTuber that don't really plan. I'm not on here all the time. I just pop up. Well, I've popped up several several months later, basically at least a year. And I'm just giving you guys a heads up. I am still here in the flesh. But yeah, so I typically spend a lot of time on Instagram, Facebook, and things of that nature. So my Instagram, let's see, my Instagram is uh Empress, I think. Hold on, let me go find. Let me go. Let me see. What is my handle? Let's see. And this is not scripted or anything like that, so I'm gonna be all over the place. So if you don't like that type of uh talking, then you may have to go somewhere else and be entertained because I'm the type of person where I don't have a script. I just go off the top of my head. I say and a lot as well. Okay, so on Instagram, I am Empress Bina underscore 2020. That's EMPRE. Let me start over. EMPRESSBINAH underscore 2020. So that is my handle on Instagram. And I typically post on there like at least once a week or so. Um, and that's basically what I've been up to. Well, not quite. But anyway, so let me see. The last time I was on YouTube and posted, it was with um, a reel. And that was when I joined Sigma Omicron Epsilon sorority. It is one of two Native American sororities, and it was founded on the campus of East Carolina University. And yeah, so I joined the graduate chapter fall of 2023, and I've been rocking and rolling ever since. I am the keeper ceremonies, and I also chair the social and retreat committees. Currently, I am planning on uh, I'm planning on having like a family cookout. When I say family, I mean like my sorority sisters and my frat brothers. The frat is Epsilon Chi Nu, which is a Native American fraternity founded in North Carolina. So I'm very much busy doing that. I am also on the board of another nonprofit called the Seekatown Alliance. We just had our annual symposium the end of May that was in the Outer Banks. And I am the board treasurer, and I also was dragged into some of the planning and the logistics of that. After the event, there's one grant maker that requires all this paperwork before they will even give you the award. So I've been learning that boots on the ground on the treasury responsibility as far as having the budget, the expense list of the expenses, list of the income that comes in, meaning like other grants or sponsors, in kind sponsors, and things of that nature. So I've been doing that quite a bit. And so that's the Seekatown Alliance. I am the co founder and the secretary and treasurer of a nonprofit called Two Rivers Saponi Okinichi Association. So that particular nonprofit is my baby. And so with that nonprofit, the goal is to bring awareness to the indigenous inhabitants, original inhabitants of Mecklenburg County, Virginia, Brunswick County, Virginia, and Greensville County, Virginia. That southern part of the southern part of Virginia. Um, and so that particular group of people will be like the Okinichis, the Saponis, the Tutelos, other remnants of tribes that were kind of brought together at Fort Christiana in Lawrenceville, Virginia, which is in Brunswick County. This was in the mid 1700s. So that nonprofit, we do have a Facebook page, not a website yet. So it's called, again, Two Rivers Saponi Okinichi Association. So again, I'm a co-founder and treasurer and secretary of that. So that was founded in um, May of 2023. Yeah, May of 2023 is when I founded that. Um, and I was dealing with a lot of the compliance things, paperwork, getting registered here and there, and just getting the IRS EIN number and making sure that we're registered with different states as far as soliciting for donations. So far we are registered in the state of Virginia, North Carolina, and Maryland. As far as getting solicitation and things of that nature. As of right now, we're not selling anything. Um, we're just sharing information, and we're partnering up with different nonprofits that have a similar mission, goal, and values. Um, so let me see. Let me go to Two Rivers real quick, the public page here. So yeah, it's Two Rivers Saponi Okinichi Association. That's Saponi SAPONI hyphen O as in October, C as in cat, C as in cat, O as in October, N as in Nancy, E as in egg, E as in egg, C as in cat, H as in hello, E as in egg, E as in egg. That's how we spell Okinichi. Okinichi, you can there's historical different spellings in the records. That's the spelling that we went with. That's one of the spellings that we see all over in Clarksville, Virginia. So that's the spelling we went with. And I'll just read a little bit from our page here as far as the details, if you want to know more about what we're all about. The Two Rivers Saponi Okinichi Association is an IRS approved 501c3, which took a while to get that all set up. So I'm actually very proud that we were able to get that done. This nonprofit is dedicated to preserving and promoting the cultural heritage of the Saponi and Okinichi Indigenous American community within Mecklenburg County, Brunswick County, and Greensville County, Virginia. Moreover, the Saponi and Okinichi peoples have a long history in the region of North Carolina, Virginia, and surrounding areas. I want to make sure my viewers understand this nonprofit is an association based in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, Brunswick County, Virginia, and Greenville County, Virginia. This organization is highlighting the information that's already out there that's been somewhat buried, and we're trying to regurgitate the information. We're not creating, a new wheel. We're not doing research and things of that nature. What we're doing is taking the research that's already out there and highlighting it, right? That's what we're doing. We're also partnering up with other nonprofits that align again with our mission, goals, and values. We want to highlight environmental justice and things of that nature. So I'll keep reading. Two Rivers will focus on various initiatives, including cultural education, historical research, community outreach, and advocacy for Indigenous American and environmental rights. We will work to raise awareness about the history, traditions, and contributions of the Saponi and Okanagan communities to the local community and beyond. That's one thing that we are working on. Like, we have an upcoming trash pickup day, and what we're doing is we're going to adopt the highway. And so that will be somewhat part of what we're, whatever our initial interests and things of that nature. Again, partnering up with nonprofits that are already doing the work, that are already, very much involved in environmental justice and things of that nature. So partnering up with those existing nonprofits is what we are hoping to do. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not trying to do what other groups are trying to do out there. If they're already doing the work and we are very much alike in certain aspects of our goals, missions, and vision, then we'll want to partner up with them in the North Carolina, Virginia territory. Let's see. I probably already read. Yeah, I did read that. Okay. So, by organizing events, workshops, and educational programs, Two Rivers aims to foster greater understanding and appreciation of Indigenous American cultures, plural, because we're not all the same. Each tribal community, each group of descendants of a tribal community, we do things differently. We have our own different traditions and things of that nature. So if someone's doing something different, not really wearing the same thing the next group is wearing, as far as regalia, whatever like that, it's okay. We're not going to get caught up in the weeds and things of that nature, because each group, be it citizens on paper of a tribal community and or descendants of those people, we want to honor them and highlight them with our efforts as Two Rivers. Um, let's see. Da-da-da. We plan to collaborate with schools, museums, and other organizations to provide accurate information and resources about the community's history, traditions, and contemporary issues. This is me, even though I'm on the board and I'm a co founder. I also am very much interested in highlighting Indigenous American slavery, because not many people know that there were Indigenous people that were enslaved, because the end of 17, like the late 1700s, there was a law, at least in Virginia, where if someone was enslaved, their race would magically change from whatever it was to black or negro. So it's important to recognize that not all Indigenous American people, I mean, not all enslaved people were African or African American. Many were also indentured servants that fell into the records under black slavery. So a lot of folks out there who are looking for their non person of color ancestor that was an indentured servant, and they're trying to find the records, trying to find them, you might want to check the African black slave records, because anybody that was associated with slavery or indentured servitude will be in those records. I learned that a few years back, and I think I shared it on here in one of my videos. But yeah, so I would like for Two Rivers to go in that direction, is to also highlight Indigenous American um slavery. And I would like to, for instance, go to Charleston, South Carolina, where they have that somewhat new International African uh, Slave Museum down there. I forgot what it's called. I went down to Charleston, South Carolina, October of 2021, I think, and they were still working on it. And I think the museum opened either June or July of 2022, or maybe the next year. But the point is, I am very, very excited about that museum and what they're offering, but I also would like for them to acknowledge all of the Indigenous American people who were exported out of those ports in South Carolina or Charleston, South Carolina. We always hear about the African slaves that were imported through those ports or that port, but you know, for whatever reason, Indigenous America in so many areas of history has just been erased, ignored, not acknowledged. Um, Whatever that was going on was overlooked because another group was going through something similar and there were more numbers in that group or whatever the case may be. Um, Paper genocide is a real thing, and so I just want to make sure that Two Rivers can also bring that to the public's attention. Just because somebody was labeled a slave does not necessarily mean they were African or African American. They could very well have been Indigenous American. And I'm just thinking about this one lady that I found that was brought to my attention, where she actually went to court in the state of Virginia to basically petition and fight for her right to not be a slave because she was Indigenous American and she followed her mother's condition. That was, that was the rules. Like whatever condition the mother was in, if she was not enslaved, if she was a free woman of color or a free white woman or whatever like that, and the child's father was enslaved or was part of a group that was not respected, then the child will follow the mother. So the mother would be the one that would, her condition would dictate the child or the descendant's place in history, right? As far as class. And so she was petitioning, she went back and forth to court or whatever. So a lot of times you could find your ancestors in court cases if you look in that space, court cases and tax records and stuff. It's easier said than done, for a lot of us that are victims of paper genocide. But for those who do hear, the stories or whatever of someone back in the 1700s in their family that fought for or went to court or whatever the case may be, um, that may be a good angle to check those court records to see, if someone was, you know, um, suing for their right to be free. So, while I'm thinking about it, because I'm on Facebook, and I put a lot of stuff on Facebook too, but that's more of my personal Facebook page, so I don't share that with everybody, just the people I know. Um, but yeah, I did come across information about this one lady um, in the state of Virginia. And also, I've learned over the years that Virginia had the highest number of so called mulattoes out of all the states in the United States. Remember, Indigenous American people, right? So all of a sudden, you got all these so called mulattoes. Then you have to think, you have to wonder, like in the late 1700s, when all these indigenous people were, stolen or taken to slavery, or they stayed on their land, you have to wonder if these so-called mulattoes are actually Indigenous American people. Not everybody, obviously, but I feel like there are quite a few people that just magically turn into mulattoes on paper when they are originally were indigenous. So anyway, the state of Virginia has the highest amount of mulattoes that were registered in the U.S. Census and things of that nature. So I found all that through Ancestry.com about a year or so ago, and I was like, oh wow, I'm connecting the dots basically. I'm connecting the dots. So right now, like I said, I'm on Facebook and I'm trying to find that information real quick about that one lady who fought for her rights. So anyway, um, here we go. So her name was Rachel Finlay, Findlay, and this is her story. Rachel, Rachel Finlay, sued her owner, Thomas Clay, on the grounds that because her maternal Indian grandmother's enslavement was illegal, she and family members were also illegally enslaved. In 1773, the General Court ruled that she was free. But the Clay family sent Finley and her daughter west before the court reached its verdict, selling them to a John Draper, Draper, whose family held them in slavery in Wythe County, Wythe, Wythe County. Years later, Rachel Finley filed suit in the White County Court to obtain the freedom to which she had been illegally entitled but had never enjoyed. After 7 years of delays and difficulties in the transfer of the case to the Powhatan County Court, she again won freedom by herself for May 13th, 1820. So this was on May 13th, 1820. Finley's approximately 40 children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren were therefore legally entitled to become free too. Woo! So when I read her story, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This is an example of what went down in the state of Virginia. I can't speak for other states. North Carolina is probably just as, similar. But in the state of Virginia, it's like you follow the mother's condition, but then you're going to turn around and enslave an indigenous woman, probably just assume she was black, right? Because her skin was dark or whatever. Maybe she had curly hair. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, all the children and grandchildren, all there are like, they have to endure slavery until, slavery was abolished or whatever in the United States. So this is like an example of what I'm talking about that I really want Two Rivers to focus on, among other things, but just trying to get people to realize that just because someone was enslaved does not necessarily mean they automatically were African and or Black African American people. That's all I'm saying. And yes, there were people who were mixed, like myself, with Black, West African and things of that nature. And I've lived a Black experience, United States Black American experience. So that's been my experience. But at the end of the day, I choose to acknowledge my indigenous ancestry as well. I live on this land where my indigenous ancestors are from, right? So that's my story, right? But I also want Two Rivers to highlight that and not for that part of history to be just swept under the rug. Well, you got black blood, so you just black. Jim Crow, it's just another way to erase a people. It's another way to not acknowledge my ancestors who came together, did what they needed to do in love, and produce the next generation. So you mean to tell me that you can remove those indigenous people out of my tree, right? Out of my bloodline, blood, okay, DNA, and I would still be here. Come on, people. Come on. Let's not be, delusional here. Okay? If you remove any one of those ancestors out of your DNA makeup, you will not be here. But yet you have these delusional people who were in charge of the census records and things of that nature. And in some cases today, right? They want to put you in one box or two or whatever, or put you in other instead of saying you're Indigenous American. You're just other, right? Another way to be disrespectful to a group of people. Um, yeah. So anyway, I know I went on and on and on about Two Rivers, but that's something that that's been my love child in a certain way of putting it. It's been a labor of love, and I'm just thankful, that me and two other people came together that are tied to those counties in Virginia, that we decided to come together and make it happen. So I did a lot of the compliance, heavy lifting, paperwork, and everything like that. And now we're in the process of be a little bit more visual, or taking donations and things of that nature, whoever wants to, support it or whatever. Um, and I actually will put the link to our GoFundMe if you want to support it, financially or whatever like that. Or you can send something through my Cash App or whatever. It's up to you. The point is there's operational costs, and then there's the cost of projects and things of that nature. And right now, to be transparent, we are not working on any projects. What we're doing is we're building our reputation in the community, and we are partnering up with other nonprofits that are Indigenous led, and they're also very much passionate about the environmental justice element, right? And so that's what we've been doing thus far. And then, like I said, we have this upcoming uh, roadside cleanup, adopt a highway thing that we're doing. So we're slowly but surely getting in those spaces. We're just not doing projects, like hosting projects at the moment, but we're getting there. Um, let's see. I got 2 likes. Yay! Whoever you are. Thanks for liking it. If you want to put something in the chat, you're more than welcome to. I haven't looked at the chat since I started talking, but I'm looking at it now. Let's see. Let me see. I feel like last time I did this, people were trying to put something in the chat and it wasn't working. But I mean, you're more than welcome to put something in the chat. I just put something in there. I said hello. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that was that as far as what I was referencing on Facebook. There was something else I wanted to highlight on Facebook regarding let's see. It was, yeah, this is like a year and some change ago. Again, I put a lot of stuff on Facebook and not necessarily make videos like I used to. But I said Mecklenburg County, Virginia, was organized on March 1st, 1765, having split from Lunenburg County in 1764 as a result of the passage of an act by the Virginia General Assembly. Due to new settlement and population increases in the area, the legislature divided Lunenburg into 3 counties. We have Lunenburg, Charlotte County, and Mecklenburg County. And it's very important too when you're researching counties, and this is for those who are new to genealogy research. So a lot of y'all already know this, so you can ignore this part, but you have to learn when the county that you're looking at, when it was founded or organized, and if it branched off and things of that nature, because you may have to look at surrounding county records the further you go back. For instance, Brunswick County, Virginia was a huge county for a very long time, and then eventually it just, parts of it broke off and created other counties and things of that nature. So just remember that when you're doing your research. The further back you go, you may have to look at different counties. And in some cases, like West Virginia was part of Virginia at a certain point, right? And then Virginia was this huge chunk of land before it was divided in different states. So you got to understand the year you're dealing with or the decade you're dealing with and what was that piece of land identified as. Um, I'm thinking about North Carolina right now. Granville, North Carolina. Vance County was part of that, and some other counties too. And then after a while, it broke off and things of that nature. So again, just remember the time period you're looking at, and just know when your county was what it was, and if there were other counties that broke off or broke away or was and annexed in. That's something to pay attention to, because if not, yeah, you will be confused. So anyway, Lunenburg County, Virginia. This was back in 1751. This is a hard pill to swallow, but it is reality, where you have to also look at will and testaments or will books to see what property was left to who. And in this case, property also included human beings that were enslaved. Okay. But anyway, this is Lunenburg County, Virginia. Will Book 1, page 39. William Mays. To my son Maddox Mays, one Indian slave named Judah. To my son Joseph Mays, three Indian slaves, Jack, Jimmy, and Harry. To my daughter Frances White, one Indian slave named Phyllis. To my wife Mary Mays, during her natural life, the use of my Indian girl slave named Nancy. To my granddaughter of Mary Maddox Giles or Giles, Giles, one Indian slave named Daniel. And so this was November the 8th, 1748, and it was proved, or I guess recorded, maybe that's what they meant by that, in the records, October the 1st, 1751. So checking out the will books, last will and testament, reading the journals and things of that nature, you'll find things like this. But I just wanted to highlight this because this was Lunenburg County, 1751. Okay. Mecklenburg County, Virginia was established in 1765, and it split from Lunenburg County, right, in 1764. So if I'm looking for records, I need to look in Lunenburg County records when I get back into the 1750s and 1740s. I shouldn't still be looking at Mecklenburg, because Mecklenburg was not in existence before 1765. That's just a little taste of what I'm talking about. Yeah, so again, this is a labor of love, and this is something I wanted to um, highlight within the Two Rivers nonprofit that I co-founded. So um, that's that. And like I said, I will share. Well, I'll put it in the chat, but I also will put it in the description later of this live video. But I will put the link in the chat if I can, because some of the software, it has updated over the years, and I'm just sitting here trying to figure it out. So you're gonna have to bear with me. Let's see. All right, so I'm putting that link to Two Rivers, and you can learn more about what we're doing. You can also look at the post, because the post is what the myself and the other co-founders have been adding. Like if we're involved in an event or something like that, we show up, we support, whatever, we'll highlight that on that Facebook page. Chris says, hey Bina. Chris, are you the Chris that I met at the Okanichi powwow in Burlington, North Carolina? Maybe it was October of 2023. I think I met you in person, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were traveling from Charlotte, North Carolina. So Chris Connors, I want to make sure I'm talking to the same person I met in person. You said, hey, Vina, ironically, I spent hours studying and learning more about this exact topic this morning. Really? Learned about Margaret Sifpion. I will butcher her name, so I'm going to go ahead and say sorry up front that I will butcher her name, so I apologize. Was another woman who went to court to prove her free status. Okay, which state? Was it Virginia that she disputed the status of her freedom? I'm curious. But anyway, I'm gonna keep talking, and I'm gonna come back to the chat and see what you said, Chris. Yeah, Chris. Thanks for chiming in too. I appreciate it. But yeah, Two Rivers, the Pony Okanese Association. Again, I co-founded, and I'm excited about what we will be doing in the near future. But right now, as far as transparency, we are not working on any projects at the moment. So I just want to clarify that. I'm also on the board of this nonprofit called Resilience Inc. And Resilience Inc. is a nonprofit that focuses on learning tools for children K through 12 to repel, or I should say, to mitigate anything that could happen if this child did not get what they needed to deal with or to cope with some of life's most challenging experiences. So, the founder and president, executive director, his name is John Fay, and he's based in Tampa, Florida. He felt the urge and the need to come up with this nonprofit because I think that it was like there was a school shooting, and then that's it. I think that's what kind of like set him off was that one particular school shooting down in Florida, and he said, you know what, I got to do something. I got to do something. So he created this nonprofit, and this nonprofit is to utilize technology to help children again cope with life difficult situations, and you know, and again coping mechanisms like how to breathe and things of that nature. It's not medical. It's not categorized as medical. However, he is working on apps. He's working on things of that nature. Like, it's hard for me to explain. As you could tell, I'm struggling because that part of the nonprofit I'm not very much involved in. Like the tech, he's a techie guy, so like creating apps and stuff like that. I'm more on the side with the compliance and making sure that when we solicit or we do business in different counties, I mean, different states, that we are registered properly. Like I just did California a few months ago, making sure that we can not necessarily sell something, but if we have volunteers that are, trying to get credit for school or whatever like that, that we still have to register in the state of California. Same thing with Texas. We can have volunteers that are, doing a remote internship, and whatever they're studying, let's say it is technology, I don't know, software engineering or something like that, and they want to take what they learn in school and then they want to apply it and then get some kind of credit or whatever, be it, credit for a course or just getting hands-on experience. This is a great platform. Again, it's called Resilience Inc. And I'm on the board, and I am the senior advisor for the Department of Self-Governance and Compliance. So I interned for like 2 years. I started in January of 2023, and then I stepped aside in August of 2024. So I did a bit of uh, volunteering slash interning, and I was the director of self governance and compliance. All of this was free labor, okay? I was just gaining experience, leadership experience. So now I'm the senior advisor of the Department of Self Governance and Compliance. So that, I know that's a lot, but that has nothing to do with what I was talking about earlier, but that is another nonprofit that I'm very much involved in. And I'm saying all of this is because I've kept myself so busy over the past, I don't know, I would say since 2022, because I experienced a layoff. Again, yes, again. The first layoff was in October of 2010, and you guys probably remember the stock market and all that. And so I was in the real estate industry slash title insurance, and then I got another job in 2023 back in the same industry because I had all this experience, and most employers, they want people that's already experienced in that industry, dealing with the same software, the same whatever platforms, versus someone who has transitional skills. It was even worse, okay, lately, and it's probably still worse now. But the point is, I experienced another layoff um, with title insurance, and I decided, you know what? The first time it happened, I went back to school, got my master's, wanted to focus in management, specifically in healthcare administration, and I had a difficult time getting into that industry, like 2.5 years, even though I volunteered for Tiger Lily Foundation, which is a breast cancer awareness nonprofit, by the way. The founder, her name is Mima Carmo. And so I spent time doing volunteer work, and that was not considered like bona fide medical, you know, environment. It was awareness nonprofit foundation, I should say, but that wasn't good enough. And I attempted to get fellowships. That wasn't good enough because the program I was in, the program itself was not credited, but the actual degree and the institution is credited. So this is something I can share with the younger career driven people in their 20s or whatever. Make sure if you go into a school dropping thousands of dollars for a piece of paper, make sure that that program is accredited and that the employers out there that are prepared to pay premium for your skills actually respect that program itself. Because the program I was in was not accredited. And even though the institution was accredited, we were told verbally, like, oh, we're working on getting accreditation for this program. The other programs within the institution that were accredited, like the MBA and things of that nature. But this program I was in was not. They were working on it. I would suggest not to risk or not to waste your time and money on a program that is working on accreditation. I understand you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere when it comes to building a program. You're not going to automatically have a program that's going to be accredited. They have to prove themselves. I get that. But for me in my life right now, I just feel like let somebody else spend the time, money, and effort. I don't want to do that ever again. And I'm just saying it, I'm just being blunt about it. I spent money, got the degree, whatever, whatever. And a lot of these fellowships, they specifically say on the application that is on those who are eligible have to do blah, 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 blah. And their program has to be accredited by whatever accreditation organization. So that's why I was unable to get into the industry when I initially tried to break out of title insurance slash, which is financial services slash real estate. So anyway, it happened again because COVID and all of that. They just wanted another excuse, right, to get rid of people. This was a totally different employer, by the way, and it was 100% remote position. So maybe part of that was they never saw me. This is why some people like hybrid opportunities versus completely remote, because when you have interaction in person with some people that have pen power and it's time for them to make difficult decisions, they may think twice about letting you go if they see you in the flesh and you do the whole office politics stuff, not being completely fake, but being, kind of bubbly. Even if you're an introvert like me, you kind of got to get out of that and be a little bubbly and be seen a little bit more, because if not, they will ignore you, and it will be easy for them to just send you a quick email because they never met you in person and say thanks but no thanks. So even though you can do everything that you can possibly do, and I am a achiever type person, like I did very well in school, got on the dean's list, was on in the honor societies and all that, which is great. I was among the who's who recently as an adult, as well as in high school. I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do academically. And the employers currently, at least the last decade and some change, usually, depending on your industry, they don't care how you did in school after about 2 or 3 years of graduating, right? When you first graduate, they do pay attention to your GPA. I'm not going to lie. But after like 3, 4, 5 years that you've graduated, they're not looking at that. They're looking at your experience. Half the time, they're not even looking at where you worked as far as prestige. They're looking at if you have the skills, if you know how to do it, and how many years you've been working doing X, Y, and Z. And I would suggest, depending on your industry, I would suggest getting certifications, and not certifications like certificate of completion, but actual certifications. That's another hard pill to swallow. You go to school, you get your degree, but then the degree is not the degree is like going to fifth grade when you need to graduate, with during your 12th year of of school, like high school. So like your degree, bachelor's degree, even your master's or whatever, is like fifth grade, sixth grade education. You need to go to 12th grade, and 12th grade will require hands-on experience and or certifications. Certifications is like your way to demonstrate you know how to do something versus theoretical, right? Um, so here I am later in life, experiencing all that, being like an intern and all of that, volunteering. And then like I said, I volunteered so much over the past 3 to 4 years that now I'm like on all these different boards, be it of treasurer, board treasurer, or board secretary. And like I said, with Two Rivers, co-founder, treasurer, secretary. And then I'm also, like I mentioned before, I am a member of Sigma Omicron Epsilon Incorporated, which is one of two Native American, Indigenous American sororities in the United States of America. And so I'm very much grateful that I am in that organization. And I am in the elected role of keeper of ceremony. So I am very much outside of my comfort zone as an introvert, because the social committee and the retreat committee are chaired by the keeper of ceremony. So I have gotten out of my comfort zone quite a bit over the past few years. And so being a part of this organization, I'm very, very grateful that I am. And I've met a lot of people, um, you know, on the powwow trail, right? But I also met a lot of people, that are my sorority sisters, as well as my frat brothers. Again, my frat brothers are the Epsilon Chi Nu brothers fraternity. And both Greek organizations were founded in the state of North Carolina, by the way. Um, so yeah, so I'm very much involved in that. I can also give you the link to my sorority. This is a Facebook link though. Um, and then the website so you can check it out. But I am very grateful that I am part of that organization. It's my second home. And I actually had executive board committee meeting last Saturday in the Durham area. And afterwards, I planned for us to have like a little social. And it was axe throwing. It was my first time throwing axes. And afterwards, we had dinner, whatever, like that. And the handful of sorority sisters that showed up, they really had a good time. And this is my first time planning something as a group in this capacity. So it was successful. Anyway, so that's the link I put in the chat for the sorority. And as far as Epsilon Chi Nu, if you're interested, Epsilon Chi Nu, East Coast natives, right? Epsilon Chi Nu, ECN, or Chi is X. That's the acronym for that. I mean, the letter for that. But that's where Epsilon Chi Nu came from. Came from East Coast natives. So just to give you a heads up. I'm going to go ahead and put their website in the chat as well. So if you want to learn more about that organization, you are more than welcome to read up on it. Okay, Chris, you said here, tune in, listening, and taking notes. Appreciate what you have been doing to spread awareness for our people. You are most welcome, Chris. And again, Chris, if you're still on, am I talking to the same person I met that was from Charlotte that came to the Okanichi powwow, the Okanichi Band of the Saponi Nation powwow, to be exact, in Burlington, North Carolina? I think I'm talking to the same Chris. But anyway, let me see. What else did I want to talk about? What else do I want to talk about? I think it's important when you're going through your journey, if you're like me, later in life, doing paperwork and stuff like that with your Indigenous American ancestry. Um, I think it's vital to have thick skin and to be patient and to be visible and to show up at functions like a Native American festival. If there is something a group is, hosting and it's an open invitation, show up. Be willing to volunteer if needed. Um, you just have to be okay with taking your time and allowing people to get to know you. And you do have people in certain cliques or whatever, because they can be real clicky, okay? Where it's like, you're not one of us, we don't know you yet. And they'll like not really want to open up to you. But if they see you enough and they see that you are legitimately being a genuine person, basically, and you're not claiming to be related to them, because that is a hot topic these days. People claiming that they are related to an enrolled person, and that enrolled person is saying, I don't know you. I don't know why you're saying we related. You don't have the paperwork to back it up, so you need to stop saying it. These are fighting words, okay? And in particular, I'm thinking about in North Carolina, because I live in North Carolina now. If you guys didn't know that, I live in North Carolina now. I moved down here March of 2020. And being that I lived on the border of Virginia, North Carolina, I spent a lot of time in North Carolina growing up. And my dad's side of the family is from North Carolina, Granville County, Vance County, and probably a couple of other counties that I can't name off the top of my head. And then my sisters and my mom, they lived in North Carolina. My brother was stationed in North Carolina because he's in the Air Force, but he's from Virginia. And so and I have relatives now that live in Charlotte and things of that nature. So, but North Carolina is basically home to more so the north central side of North Carolina, not further south, not further east or west, just right in that RDU area, the triangle area and north or northeast of that. Um, so yeah, my folks, um, my dad's side definitely is from North Carolina. So the point I'm making is that um, I lost my train of thought because I heard something outside. Someone's coming up the steps, and I probably have to end this call soon because dinner typically is between 6:30 and 7. I haven't started yet. Anyway, don't go around saying you related to someone without having your paper. And it's unfortunate that within our native circles it's like that. But if you want the respect from these family members that you believe are your blood relations, you got to tread softly with that. You really do. I personally don't say I'm related to certain people. I don't. When I took my DNA test back in, I think, 2013, I think, and then I had the same results updated. And it was through DNA tribes. It was called Native DNA, and then the name changed to DNA tribes. So I got my results, and they added some southeastern tribes to the database. So I was matching up with certain groups and stuff like that. But now I'm like, I'm not telling people I'm related to them unless we got some paperwork that's connecting the dots. I just say, according to my DNA results, this is what showed up. DNA is not accurate. Let's get that straight. Okay. DNA is not going to show you everything that makes you you. Think of it like a triangle. I've said this before in an older video. Think of it like a triangle, like that. This line right here and this line right here represents your mom and your dad's side. Your mother, 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 your father, 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 father. If you're female, right? Um, so everything in the middle of that triangle is considered junk DNA, which is not junk, but the scientists or whoever you want to call them, their status, they can't see all the DNA, so they call it junk. So if your Indigenous American ancestry blood is coming from your mom's father's father side and you're female, it ain't gonna show up. If it's the mama side, like mother, your mother, her mother, it'll show up. Again, if you're a female. Now, DNA tests have, I'm sure, improved over the years since the last time I took mine, but I'm just letting you know that DNA tests may not show you everything that you were told that's part of your family tree. And it's okay. But what showed up on mine did show up, connect with indigenous communities in the southeast of the United States. Okay. And I know people who are enrolled or are citizens of some of these tribes in North Carolina. And I was in communication with one of them in a private message. And she was like, what test did you take? And do you feel good about the results? And do you think it's a legit DNA testing site? And da 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 da. And I gave her my opinion. And basically, she was like, yeah, um, my my mom or my whoever, her aunt or whatever like that, you donated their DNA to be the baseline of the results to come in that's connected to their group. And so I say all of this is because there are indigenous relatives that are very much taking these tests, and they have their jet or whatever match, and they're matching up with their relatives, right? So that's another way to do that. But just be cautious about going online and claiming that you are related to a certain group of people that are in these tribes, because you will get a smackdown like real quick. They will blast you. And it's unfortunate and it can be ugly. And that's just one of my suggestions. Like, if you don't have the paper to connect to somebody that's enrolled, don't go around saying that y'all cousins. Don't do that. That is a sure sign to get like blacklisted. And it's unfortunate that it's like that, but I'm just letting you guys know that if you going around saying you related to somebody, y'all cousins, and that's my cousin, and that's my da 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 da, and they don't acknowledge you because y'all probably ain't got nothing in writing. Um, yeah, those are fighting words, and it's a lot of that going on right now in North Carolina. And I want your experience to be positive when you're doing this research with your family tree and things of that nature. You do have tribal police. It's unfortunate, and a lot of them, they just hate on black people. Let's keep that real. Um, but try not to have that deter you from going after and looking up these records. And some records you're just not gonna find. That's why a lot of us, we turn to DNA. And just so you know, DNA tests are not always going to show you what you have in your DNA bucket. But if it's there and something shows up, that's part of you, if that makes sense. Um, I remember I was just going down memory lane with the Puripecha. I probably mispronounced that. The Puripecha people, uh, many years ago. And I was just telling one of my friends, I said, when I shared my DNA results many years ago, most of the people that were pleasant towards my results, as far as feedback, were people who were indigenous from Mexico and people from the Pacific Islands. Like, I'm thinking of Hawaii right now, Samoan people and stuff like that. Like, telling me congratulations and good luck with your journey, and welcome to the family, and blah 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 blah. And I'm saying to myself, why is it that I can't get that same high vibrational response from people in the southeast of the United States of America? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. It's like you're home, but yet people got something to say. But yet people who recognize the results and are excited for you. Like, one person, I remember, I'll go back and read it. And I'm gonna have to end this video. Even though the title said I was gonna go into spiritual journey and all that, I'm gonna have to tap into that later, when I have time. But I'm just gonna read something real quick. What I came across years ago, and it was kind of cool to go back down memory lane of what some of the people were saying. But let me see. This one person 6 years ago. Okay, I'm going back. Her name was A Voice Crying Out 1365. Thank you, by the way, for your positive feedback. But she says, "Hi, sister. No joke, but I am Mexican, and you look just like one of my cousins, and you talk like her too. We are from the same bloodline, Tarascan, from Michoacan, Mexico, or Mexico. I probably butchered Tarascan. I apologize." She says, "I have been there several times. They are real. They still talk in their indigenous language. Seriously, now that I think of it, you look like two or more of my cousins. You have high forehead, which I thought was funny, but I do have a high forehead, and look very Mexican. So yeah, I am also researching. And like you said, the Tarascans were victorious always over Aztecs, which is a great honor. And then another person said, his name was Ed Obash 64. I am Tarasco. There are black Mexicans, most of them in the coast of Guerrero, Costa Chica near Acapulco. For all of us, Caucasian, Latino, etc., share a common ancestor, Black African, seen in National Geographic and Discovery Channel. So yes, we are related somehow. I am proud of people like you researching your roots. Keep the good work. So he was proud of me, people like me that's doing the research. And I'm going to read one more and then I have to go. This was 10 years ago. Leslie A. Latorre hyphen Wilson 4930. She says, let me apologize for the rude comments you have gotten on this. And believe me, guys, I used to get a lot of rude comments from just me posting my results. It was just crazy. But anyway, and as a Parapecha Indian myself, let me welcome you and embrace you properly. As I have been taught by my mother, grandmother, and her mother, do not be discouraged to learn about your ancestry because of weak mentality of people. My great grandparents are full blooded Parapecha. My mother's Parapecha and Black. I am Parapecha, Black, Spanish, and French. In time, we will all eventually be mixed with some other race. But it is an amazing feeling to know every bit of what makes you you. I was raised in Michoacan, that's Michoacan. I probably butchered it, till the age of 6. And let me tell you, because of the coming, it I am the respectful and caring person I am today. Welcome to your roots, sister. So anyway, but yeah, that the initial DNA results, the indigenous aspect of it, because there was not a lot of data um, in the southeast of the United States, the next best thing was south of the border, Canada, other parts of the Americas. And so I got a strong hit with the Parapecha people in Mexico. And so I did all this research about them. I was excited or whatever. Um, and then when I got my DNA results updated recently, uh, I had more hits in the southeast because the data is there now. So that's the thing. It's like whichever DNA company you utilize, it's based on whatever data that they have. So you have to realize that maybe you were told that you were descendant of whatever from X tribe, but the tribal members or citizens aren't participating in DNA, you know, sampling and stuff like that. So you're okay. Let me take that back. Parental DNA testing is a thing in a lot of indigenous tribal communities when you're trying to find out who's the father or if you related to, your aunt or uncle or whatever in that tribe. That's another angle is to have paternity test. So you have to be um, you have to be very much trusted and respected for somebody to be willing to take a DNA test to see if you're related to them. If they are an enrolled citizen of whatever tribe and they're like, you know what? I think I believe you, even though you don't have the paperwork or whatever, but let's just see if we do connect genetically and how close are we genetically. That will be amazing. But not everybody's going to do that. But those are called paternity DNA tests. And those tests typically are honored when you go through the enrollment process. But they're not going to not look at um, your genealogy research. Like genealogy is like, it has more weight than blood. Let's just put it that way. So just remember that. So even though you may connect with somebody uh, genetically, they're willing to take a paternity test, DNA test, paternity test. Just know that you still have to have paperwork connecting and all that like that. It's not impossible for some people, but it is impossible for others. You can connect the dots and you probably can figure out why certain people is more complicated than other people. Um, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, this live video. Again, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for hanging out with me for an hour and almost 11 minutes, which again, as far as spiritual journey, I still see the numbers 111 and 1111 every day, all day, since September 2012, no lie. And here it is, 111 right now. Because I looked to see the time and I said, yeah, in a few seconds it's going to be 111. There you go. That's my spiritual journey for today. I do see those numbers all the time, those angel numbers. Um, and if you see things that's repetitive, like numbers, symbols, shapes, sounds, animals, like constantly, do a little research and figure out what the spiritual meaning of that, because that's a message to help guide you in the direction you ought to be going in. And 111 is one of those angel numbers where I've been researching. When you see it, pay attention to your thoughts at that moment and make sure your thoughts are empowering thoughts and not negative. So yeah, that's just a little sprinkle of spiritual journey that I would like to share with you guys for now. But that's all for today. Thank you again. You could have spent time with any other YouTuber, but you chose to spend time with me. I appreciate that. So until next time, toodles.